We are here in studio with Taylor Sutlive. How you doing, man?
Good, bro. How about you?
Pretty good. We have actually have some history together.
Yeah.
We went to high school together. I was bullied by you on the basketball court for all 4 years, and you were younger than me, which was hard to deal with. But I'll get over it eventually.
Cool.
We start off every episode by asking what you wanted to be when you grew up and where did it go wrong.
Yeah. I think growing up, as every kid, especially us that were teammates in high school too, wanted to be in the professional athlete realm. And I think everyone thought we could be there.
Everybody
too.
thought you could.
Yeah,
not me.
Yeah. So it went well for a while. So anyways, yeah, in high school we played together, and then was fortunate enough to reach the next level at the Division I level. After that, say again.
Where'd you play?
Cal Poly.
Cool.
Yeah, over in California. And so
sounds fancy.
Yeah. It was nice. It was a good time. So was there for like 4.5 years, came back, and then actually thought I wanted to get into physical therapy. So it was go from professional sports player when you were younger to become a little more realistic while you're in college. Got my kinesiology degree.
Cool.
And then was coaching, wanted to do PT, and then realized I don't want to do more school. So as I think a lot of people after graduating realize too.
Oh yeah.
And then got into real estate by a good friend of ours, Austin Greer. His dad was the president of the company I work for now. He passed away about a month after I started.
Oh man.
But yeah, he's the reason why I got into the real estate game and have been in 4 years.
What's his name?
Reagan Greer.
Reagan Greer. Shout out Reagan Greer,
For
man.
sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. So professional basketball player to PT to now a successful real estate agent. How's that? What was that transition like?
It was good.
It's a big one.
I think, yeah. I think it all starts, and I know we were talking about this earlier too. It all starts on the sports part of things.
Yeah.
That when you go from sports to sales, I think there's a direct correlation.
Oh yeah.
That obviously it's a total different job, more mental side than the physical side coming from sports. But as far as the discipline, the being goal oriented, and the willing to do things that people aren't willing to do, and stay persistent at it too, is a big thing. So I think that the transition of learning the real estate side of things was one thing, but the back end stuff of just having the grit and determination to get the job done is And
there's definitely a correlation and the reason why so many ex-athletes become, in sales or real estate agents and stuff like that. But let's get into it. Let's get into risk. So you are an agent here. You're dabbling in some house flipping stuff. The transition from, big risk is going to Cal Poly for 4 years, getting a PT degree, and becoming a real estate agent. How'd that conversation go with your parents?
From high school to college, and then after that?
Specifically from getting your degree in kinesiology and then turning a lane and then ended up being a real estate agent.
Yeah. So both my parents were PTs for forever. Man. So a little added pressure there, but yeah we won't talk about it. So it was kind of the natural path of my brother went to the school that my dad went to, who went to the school that his dad went to. Both my parents were PTs. So I was like, okay, he's following the footsteps of the education part. I'll follow in the footsteps of the workforce part, so to speak. It came naturally to just studying it in college. And then I was actually, doing some prereqs for getting into PT school, and my dad's a professor at a PT school now. So I was like, this lines up, everything helps out, it works out. It would be a good career. Like we talked about risk part two, that going to a W-2 job after going to grad school is so comfortable.
So nice.
After you get the job, obviously.
Sucks and everything.
You in. So that would be the simplistic part of it, is just to follow those footsteps. And then I just had a pivot shift after talking to Austin's dad, after talking to Reagan. And I was coaching basketball at the time, but nothing lucrative enough to live off of.
Sure.
And I was like, hey, I want to get into real estate, something that's commission only, something that my parents had no idea. They had friends that did it, obviously, but they're like, you want to go from the field that we're most familiar with and can help you with to something that no one in our family's done, So it was a leap of faith and added risk, especially because commission only. So you just got to work your butt off and, hope everything works out, which usually it does. But with not being familiar with anything in sales and real estate, et cetera, is a jump.
Yeah.
But glad time. I made it looking back now.
So you just said, it was, the transition from W-2 to 1099, where you're putting your money in your hands. Even if you can work at an agency, but you got to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to knock on the doors. You have to make the phone calls. But you said that you took a leap of faith, but you're really betting on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like what in that conversation specifically, like ignited that fire to be like, you know what, I want to jump off. I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bet on myself. I mean, I obviously seen somebody who's successful in the industry that you're wanting to be in is inspiring already, but to get in, at the ground level based off of a conversation, what was that conversation like?
I think it goes back to the sports thing too of, okay, if I had this career in high school, if I had this career in college, I was willing to do things that people wouldn't do as far as work wise. And I saw the reward of that. Why can't I just transition that into the work world afterwards?
Yep.
So yes, it was a leap of faith. You said betting on yourself. You know, I did that earlier in my sports career and getting my degree and all that stuff. So what's the difference and what's there not to correlate to when you go into the workforce? So same sort of thing. And then on top of it too, I mean, when you really break down the numbers, I'm more of an analytical guy. Like I was always good at math instead of like history, English, whatever. And I just did the math in my head. I'm like, okay, if I set a goal and I see other people doing things and like, I know I can work harder and smarter than them, like, why can't I do that? And so at first hits you in the face with thinking like, oh, I'm just going to get rich really quick. Like, doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It takes months, if not years, to get to that point. But if you see other people that are working hard and smart and know you can do that, like why wouldn't you take that bet on yourself?
Yeah, I think you obviously know a lot about yourself, obviously, but people like us who bet on themselves, like you have, you went to Cal Poly, you played D1 basketball, that's success. That goes in your brain as something like, if I can do this, I got to this point. I mean, you got to that point, and what else is there? What's next? I can do something else and I'm going to be good at it. I can do something else and I'm going to be good at it. So it makes those transitions a lot less difficult, and it really becomes more about what you want to do. What am I happy with? And it's not sitting in a cubicle. And me specifically, it's not sitting in a cubicle or going, wearing a suit and tie every day and sitting in an office. I want to be out there. And one of the only jobs that you can have that really gives you that flexibility, is sales. Is you can sell as long as you're up. And if you're up, you should be selling. So I really love that guys like you who have been successful, like growing up, you were that kid, you were the good one, you were the one that was the starter, the captain, that whole thing. It's such an easy transition when you're starting to bet on yourself because you have that behind you. And really there's somebody sitting right now listening to this who had that conversation with their Reagan Greer and didn't do it and didn't jump in. And I really want them to hear that a guy like you who jumped in and really bet on themselves, you remove the me out of the equation. I'm good. I'm going to be good. I'm good at things. Like you said, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to work better than them. So that's already a given. That gets removed from the equation. Then we get into analytics. I just need opportunities. I just need to get out there. And I really hope somebody listening to this can hear like, hey, just bet on yourself. Bet on don't quit your job, but do it when the time's right. Yeah. But know that there's, we've all faced risk. I mean, let's talk about the risk of staying and settling. Like if you, that W-2 job that sucks you in after high school, you start paying that student loan payment back. You don't want to go anywhere. And, you're working for a big, large corporation that, looks at you like just a number. And that's part of what is so draining about being, because I've worked for those companies. I've worked for big companies, and it is so draining. What do you think the correlation is in sales versus that W-2 life, being with athletes and then kind of non-athletes? What do you think that is?
I think it's the comfortability part of it is just like, okay, I know I'm good. I know I'm going to get paid every 2 weeks. Like we can live, I can kind of cruise in life, and I don't have to, like most jobs. Yeah. You got to set certain goals. You got to do certain things, fulfill your checklist or task list for the day. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do this and get paid this, and I am happy with this. And then maybe after a year, it's like, oh, I can't wait for that freaking 3% raise.
3% raise.
Amazing. And But then they go home from their 9 to 5 and from 5 to 9 complain about it. So like, and that's not everyone. There's plenty of people that, you know, got
Love
a
their
good job,
job.
love
Yeah,
their job. They went to grad school for it or whatever the case
We're not talking
may be.
about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the ones that literally say, I'm comfortable at where I'm at, but I'm not happy with my pay.
And I'm not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah. And then they find out too, like what their boss is making, what their boss is making. And the people that do take that leap of faith and do risk and bet on themselves is the ones that's like, oh, I can go, you know, be a manager here, or I can go start my thing and work at it for X amount of years and eventually get to where they're at and own my own company
100%.
or whatever it is.
100%.
But the majority is just, you know, the mindset that like, I am good where I'm at. Why would I change? Yeah. And I get that, because if you're content and happy, like you don't want
kids,
you don't want to screw that up, because people, like you said, people depend on you, whether it's your family, whoever it is. So I totally can relate and get that side of it. But if your passion is making more money or helping more people or whatever the case may be, like
find it.
You got to do that.
Yeah, find your passion and do it.
Yeah.
It's maybe we should recommend for the second you notice you're complaining about your 9 to 5, start working or researching something that you're into or positive about. Like I've got a friend who's kind of in that situation right now, who's got a corporate job and doesn't like it. And we talk about it a lot, and he's really passionate about video editing. And having those conversations with him and hearing like, man, I'm really not happy, and I really love doing it. And he's so good. Like they make movies and stuff. He's so good at what he does. But just hearing that, like I would imagine my son telling me that, like, hey, I'll be able to break my heart. And you want to just like shake him and be like, hey man, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, let's figure something out.
Why not?
Just do it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, so let's talk about real estate. So
Cool.
let's talk about some of the risks of real estate. No kidding. So you W2 life, you transfer over. So your first month as a real estate agent, what was that like?
Dog crap.
Yeah.
It's it was good in the sense of like, I know that there's an end destination. And I think the biggest thing is when you talk to people that are successful in the game now, and they've been doing it for 4 or 5, 10 years, like you realize their first month or 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is, was also crap.
Not good.
You're like, okay, that gives me hope.
Yeah.
But a lot of what people look at as far as agents go or real estate go or commission only sales and real estate go is they see something online. They see some agent on TikTok that's like, I just made $50,000 this month and sold this many houses 100%. And it's easy, and click the link in my bio and do this. And then they're like, oh my gosh, why am I not making money after 2 weeks? Like, how have I not sold a house or locked something up or whatever it is? I'm like, it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So going back to your question, the first month was all like, okay, let me get my database together. Let me put my like CRM together. Let me track my KPIs of like stuff I want to work on. Let me get my social media together, all that. But knowing in the long run, like, okay, this stuff that I do now, it's going to pay off in the
part
next
of it.
6 months, 9 months, year. Like, it's not going to happen today. I'm not going to see thousands in my bank account today, but I know that like what I do now will set me up for what's to come later. And it goes back to the sports thing too. Like, you start
100%.
working on your jump shot and you're not going to see results the next day. Like, you're still going to be broke. Sorry. But in a month from now, if you do it every day, like, you're going to see something.
I love that you said that. That's what pisses me off about social media. It's like the guys flipping private jets now. But what about like that picture of Bezos, or I think it's Elon Musk in the Amazon office, and it's just like a shanty office,
his basement or whatever.
It's just like a basement, and it was back when Amazon was just selling books. It's like nobody remembers that.
That was 1994. I saw that picture.
Really?
Yeah. Not that I saw it in 94.
I was like, damn, you remember?
I was born.
Where were you
born in 94. Yeah. But yeah, I saw that it's like resurfacing now. But it's the perfect example of he started this in 94. It's now doing billions today.
100%. I hate that people neglect that part of the story. Even the person, like even the people that they just for whatever reason completely forget the door knocking days. They completely forget the days when they're putting pennies together to pay rent, or they're having to ask mom for money or whatever it was. You can't forget that. I mean, that's really what this podcast is for. Is I want to know. So yeah, you're successful now. You got Taylor Sutlive on your shirt. I want to hear about when it wasn't successful, because somebody is listening to this right now and this could be that one push that gets them there. But back to what I was saying with the leaving out that middle. That's where the human part. That's when somebody is humanized. When you just say it was dog crap, like that's not what you hear on Instagram today. Oh, it was cake, man. I closed 6 houses on my first month. Like it doesn't work like that. It can't work like that. You can't want it to work like that because at that risk, when you do decide, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get on LegalZoom. I'm gonna pay this $250. I'm gonna have my name on a company. Well, you do that, and then you think, you know, oh, now I got to go get work, and you just as the first time you're faced with difficulty, you're like, man, this is why people work at, you know, large corporations. I'm going to go back and get my W-2 job. So often dreams die right at risk. And I wonder how many LegalZoom or LLCs are just sitting there floating, doing nothing right now because they got kicked in the teeth in their first month like you, and they didn't have the belief in themselves to say like, hey, this sucks, but I'm going to do it anyways. And one day I'm going to be damn good at it. And to get to this point. So, I mean, you're still kind of building and you're you're still in that part. But I was just talking to a buddy about this. There's a difference in when I was growing up, I wanted to become successful. I wanted to become rich. I wanted to become this, that, or the other. When it's all wrong. And I realize it now that you're just in a constant state of becoming, whatever that is. Like you were in a constant state of becoming. We playing basketball, thinking you're probably going to go, you know, play in the league, to transitioning to PT. And then from that pivoting again, it just never stops. And people like us, we have a goal. And before we attain that goal, we already have another goal that's bigger than that one. And that's a character trait that you have to know that. That's when you're in love with the grind, right? That's when you just like, hey, this is it. It's not going anywhere. So I'm going to embrace it. And I'm going to remove the bitching out of the equation, because all that's doing is taking up time, space in my head and giving me excuses. It's giving me excuses to not do things.
Right.
I mean, you can make a mistake and that's easy to fix, but inaction is the worst thing you could ever do. But I love that. So let's talk about you got a story, a specific story about getting, you know, kicked in the teeth, a door slammed in your face, or crazy client, something like that.
Yeah. I got multiple, but I mean, as much as possible, I try to still door knock and cold call, and probably not as much as I used to, but I've kind of circled back to doing it more now that I have like a bunch of sales under my belt. So instead of being like, hey, I want to help you sell your house or buy or whatever, they're like, oh, how long have you been working? I'm like, a month. They're like, no, tough. I'm gonna go. Yeah. So now circling back, it's like, hey, I sold this much and I've been working for this much, etc. So now I'm more equipped to help you. But still to this day, people will be like, I hate door-to-door salesmen. They're leechers. They're just trying to get my money, etc. And I'm like, I always take the position, and it's true, like I'm trying to help you first and give you options and just, you know, a great sales experience. And yes, I do it because I want to make money and, you know, make as much as possible.
Myself.
Hit my goals. Like this is how, especially commission only, like, hey, this is how I pay my mortgage. So I'm never going to like tell someone that like, hey, I'm door knocking because you need to do this because that's how I pay my mortgage. No, but at the same time, like I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to give them a great sales experience, but there's always going to be some people that, okay, if it's cold calling, this is the 40th call they've got this week. This is the, you know, the 5th door that's got knocked on this week or whatever the case may be. So some people aren't going to be happy about it. Back to what you said about the positive spin when things don't go your way too. If they're having a bad day, do you think the next thing they want to be is approached by a salesperson? Like, no, they're going to cast all their negative energy that they've built up in the day right onto you. Because they don't care about you. They don't know you, etc. But it's always the mentality of, okay, this one doesn't work out. Let's say 1 in every 50 works out. This one doesn't work out. Like eventually
I'm closer.
In the next 50 is going to work out. If you're on number 28, like maybe 29 is going to work out.
Keep going.
So it's just, it's that mentality of, it's going to work at some point, but
it's a numbers game.
You can't give up.
But you're banking on a lot with yourself. You're literally saying like, I believe, well, first of all, before we go any further, be nice to your solicitors, be nice to them, They have it hard enough. Okay.
They go back to their car crying. So like, be nice when they're talking to you. Yeah.
Be nice to them. You're trying to support their family. But I forgot what I was going to say. But you were just talking about door knocking. And I mean, like that mentality of being, you're already like you've already got a bunch of deals under your belt, but the desire to go back out and still do it, it's fun. It's fun. Like eventually you get over the hump, and then I think what it is like that whatever that mode is, that vulnerable, like salesy, there's something that is just like addicting to it, and then you get one, and it's like, oh boy, and it kind of feeds the addiction. I love that. I love that you still do that, and you're one of the only ones that will literally post about you doing that. It's not people look down on it, even in sales, like, oh, you still door knock? Like hell yeah I do, because it works.
I also door knock.
I also you talked about getting, having to do it less. That means the door knocking worked. That means the door knocking built up enough clientele so that you can generate organic leads by yourself, but because you did that first month. Like you said just a while ago that it's easier for people to trust you now because you've got deals under your belt, you got some time. You still did it when you were a month in. You still did it when you were 2 months in, and when you had nothing to go off of. You still did it.
And I think part of it too is, and there's like a saying that people can smell commission breath. So back in my first month, second month, third month, I'm like, I want to make the sale because like I really need to.
Desperation.
Exactly. And so now it's a different point of like really genuinely just trying to help people and give them options, tell them what their home's worth, et cetera, because I don't like need it as much as I did back then. So it doesn't sound more desperate, and it comes, like I said, all from a place of help and love.
Yeah, so definitely. Yeah. You can do both. We can help and love you and provide for our families.
Exactly.
I had somebody tell me, or it was an ex-employee who quit because he said, I want to be able to track my hours and say, if I work this many hours, I'm going to have this much money. What do you think about that?
I think he shouldn't. Are you saying he like asked for that?
No,
like he should be getting paid this because of this X amount of hours?
That was his via text message. He sent me that text. And he said, I don't want to do only commission. I can't be knocking on doors every day. I've got bills to pay, yada, yada, yada. I want to be able to keep track of my hours. What do you think about that?
So I watched a video on YouTube today from a real estate guy who he worked a very smart 8 hours per week. And with the commissions he got total, it evened out to about $880 an hour.
Oh my gosh.
So you can tell him, if you work smart and not worry about that, but you can track your numbers later. Okay, how much am I making in commissions versus how many hours am I working?
100%.
Then I think if you're good at your job and you're smart with your hours and you're efficient with your hours, you're going to see rewards. But if he's
just don't believe in yourself.
And if he's thinking that ahead of time, then probably
it's not going to get better.
Destined for
The second the door slams in his face, he's done.
Well, if you're already thinking about that going up to the door, like
you're done.
The person at the door is going to be like
commission breath.
Yeah, exactly, same thing.
We can spot those guys from a mile away.
Yeah.
Man, I think we've got a lot covered here under risk. I mean, the risk to leave a W-2 physical therapy job, even though you didn't want to go to school, but to pivot like that. Were you going to be a physical therapist in California or
probably
back here?
Yeah, okay. I literally graduated the day after I moved back just because.
Because it's Texas, baby.
Yeah, that. I mean, the politics, the prices, the taxes, everything was just like. I mean, I was paying $5 plus a gallon for gas the whole time there.
You had a full scholarship? No, so that makes it worth it.
So it helps, and I didn't have to pay for like literally anything, so it was great. But then when you realize, oh crap, I got to work
that
and
runs
pay for
out.
Stuff. Yeah. Then
when's my next scholarship come in?
Exactly. I'm like, can I get a 6th year? Shoot. So. Awesome. After that, you do the math and the analytics, and you're like, I gotta have 2 roommates until I'm like 30. Like, no, like just to be able to eat waffles in the morning and rice and beans diet. But
so you were moving back, so you were going to be a physical therapist here. To pivot like that into a budding real estate. There's so much flux here with the military population. There's so much. It's a competitive environment. Somebody was just telling us there's like 20,000 or was it you that was telling us there's 20,000 realtors?
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. I remember, I hadn't looked recently, but it was like
probably like 80,000.
18 and a half. Yeah, it was like 18,500 2 years ago. And then everyone's like, COVID, the real estate market, boom. And then everyone's like, I want to be an agent. So
I remember that, man. I remember like people that I know, like intimate, who were in sales, and they're like loan officers, real estate agents, not real estate agents anymore. They were all jumping ship.
Yeah.
Were you a realtor during COVID?
Yeah. So I joined late, like November 2019.
Okay.
COVID hit about 4 months later. My first closing was like right when COVID hit, actually.
What was that like?
Wearing masks during inspection. And it was crazy. So I had Kyle Hiddle. I don't know if you know Kyle. He played basketball at New Braunfels, really good player, and played in Cardinal Ward too. But he was my first sale, a good buddy. And there was like the whole family and myself during like our walkthrough, our inspection, everything. And we all had to wear masks. And looking back at it now, and the other agent was like, hey, I saw on the Ring camera, you know, like you guys had like 7 or 8 people at your walkthrough, and like y'all are all wearing masks. I appreciate that, but like you can't do that. Yeah. And now looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we literally lived through that and did that. And
that's
maneuvering that part too was not easy, but I mean, doable.
You're here.
So one way or another happened.
What's next?
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and shut down the risk segment of this podcast. We'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we will be getting into resilience. That's when you get off of LegalZoom and you're in your first month door knocking, and now you get door slammed on your face every day, and you're really wanting to go back to that nice, cushy W-2 job. All right, we'll be back in just a few.
Oh, great, they're both here. Okay, so I really want to sell my house, obviously, but with this recent hailstorm, now I need a new roof too. So what should I do?
I mean, we could sell your house right now, but due to the extent of the damage from the storm, I do recommend you going through insurance and getting a new roof.
Don't listen to her, real.
What did you say?
I actually agree with that. You should get a new roof and only pay your deductible.
That way it increases the value of your home, you save a little money, and you're gonna make more off it when you do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Side by side, we stand strong in the
All right, Taylor, nice little break. We are going to get into resilience. So our tagline is the risk to begin, the resilience to keep going. We just ended the risk segment talking about kind of COVID. It didn't compute in my head that you literally started out as a real estate agent 3 months before COVID started, 3 or 4 months before COVID started?
Yeah, about 4 months.
What was that like?
It was, I'm glad looking back now because I feel like experience-wise, I've seen a little bit of everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I got in at like a quote-unquote normal market, even though it was like November, so people kind of take off during the holidays for the most part, as far as like people wanting to buy or sell or whatever it is. And then right after the holidays, I was like, okay, cool, excited to pick it back up. And then freaking one person got sick, and then COVID hit, then so right after that there was a shutdown in a sense of like obviously the economy and everything, but as far as the real estate market too, like people don't know if they're going to still have their jobs, if they're going to have to get laid off, work remote, whatever the case is. So they don't want to buy or sell or make some big investment when they don't know what tomorrow holds. So after that, after COVID died down and everything, in a sense, like late 2020, we had to get the economy up and going. So interest rates were really good at the time. So then buyers, sellers, everyone was, eating at it, especially buyers, because they're like, man, 2.5%, 3% interest rate. That's dang near free money.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to try to, make my investments now or buy because it's a good time, even though, COVID's still going on. So in that first year, I feel like it was a little bit of everything. It was holidays were crap, but my business was kind of getting up and going. And then COVID hit. So we were all kind of at a standstill, didn't know what was going to happen. And then, a good bounce back, good resiliency from the economy at that point. At least in the real estate market too. I know not everyone was reaping the benefits.
Yeah, there was a lot of foreclosures going on also. That's awesome, man. So working to get started that just sounds crazy. Yeah. Like to go into real estate and then COVID hits and you're just like, are you serious? Did you ever think about quitting then? Specifically when COVID, thinking like this is the worst time to do this? Like,
for sure. Yeah. Just because there's so much unknown, and with already having a job that's unknown when I'm going to get paid, make a sale, etc.
It's hard enough. Like if in a budding real estate market and it's like flourishing, it's hard enough to get started there. Like you still have to carve your own little piece of the market out.
Yeah. And I think the ones that ended up being successful right when COVID hit too are the ones with experience to kind of know the loopholes and the ins and outs of like, obviously we've never seen something like this before, but those people, those experienced agents kind of knew hopefully how to get around it.
Sure.
Me being brand new, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm just going to try to work hard in the background and see what happens.
Almost like it can't get any worse, right? Like this is as bad as it can possibly get. So it's only up from here.
I'm like, a very volatile first year.
Yeah, no kidding. Dude, that sounds crazy. I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah.
I was not in sales during then, but it was, I couldn't even imagine that. So is there tell me about like the hardest, run in with sales? Like, did you lose a couple deals? Was it a really bad customer? Like what?
Yeah. I've had a lot of, I guess, obstacles, but one that just really smacked me in the face was pretty recently. It was last year. Last year was a tough market actually that, people kind of talk about, but, I had, 3 deals on the table equaling about 2 million, a little over 2 million, I think. And it was right around $65,000 in net commissions to me. So I'm like, people make that in a year. I'm like, this is great. I'm just going to stand by. I was like, I'm going to put some of the door knocking and cold calling on the back burner. I'm going to stand at my desk and do anything I need to do to make sure these deals go through. Obviously working on the side too, but, and then bad inspection led to one dealing falling out. Some financing for another, some things here and there, and only one of I said 3, I think it was 4 total deals stayed intact, equaling about $7,000 in commission. So grateful for the 7.
Yeah.
Really sad about the rest of like 58 or whatever it was.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a lot to take on, but that's when I really realized like this is how the business can be sometimes. Like it's going to slap you in the face.
Yeah. I tell my guys all the time, like if you're worried about one deal, you're just not doing enough. Like that's very different than your situation. But we've had those deals walk like that. And it's like, oh, it's the worst feeling ever. And it's like, what? I always think like, what could I have been doing? Who else could I? Yeah. But
right.
That's a negative. You don't want to think like that because then you're going to end up, quitting, doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So you lose those deals. You're left with it. The 2 days, all of it's gone. How do you what's your plan after that?
I think the biggest thing was I got them in the first place and they didn't work out, but what's to say I can't repeat the same process, do it again, and then it works out.
Back to work.
Because the 2 options are you do that or you sit there and mope and cry and
blame other people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And think negative thoughts and think, oh, this isn't going to work out, so nothing else is going to work out. When really you should just be,
spiraling.
Exactly. When really you should be thinking the opposite and being like, okay, there was stuff I did and things I worked on for this to work out. Like it was unfortunate it didn't work out, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
So, or it could be a different client. It could be a different deal. Obviously it will be, but, it can happen again. Just make it happen again.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like I always tell my guys, you don't want to be in that position anyways. If you're worried about that one deal, you're not working hard enough. If you need that one deal, you're just not doing enough. And then when the deals walk out, you're exactly right. Like, okay, well, I had them here. I've done it before. The company. I'm still making money. I'm still able to pay my bills. So copy and paste. Let's just get right back out there.
My boss now, she has a phrase which at first I was like, dang, like that's how people are really rich. But she's like, if you're not under contract, like on a deal, you're unemployed. Basically saying like, hey,
That's true.
because they fall out,
Yeah.
bad things go wrong, whatever it is, like you can't put all your eggs in one basket and bank on one big deal happening, right? If you're not working on a deal, like you're unemployed, and not literally, but that's probably
You
gonna
might as well be.
if that's your mentality and that's the amount of volume you're doing. It's going to be, slim pickings.
I love that mentality though. That's like, okay, I'm unemployed right now because I'm not doing enough, so I need to get to work. I need to go out there. I love that.
Yeah.
So back to door knocking. Let's talk about some resiliency in door knocking. What's been I know you do it like sporadically. It's not your main source. What did you start door knocking?
I started doing a little bit of everything because it's a blessing and a curse, because I wanted to see what works and what works for me. Like people our age, I think, are going to be more so tailored to the social media, the email marketing side of things, and not as much the door knocking or cold calling, even though our age is like, we're young enough to like, hey, have the energy to do it for 3 or 4 hours, where some people aren't. But we kind of want the more efficient way out, which is that social media and everything, which I do, but
you're good at it.
trying.
You're
good
good at
yeah. Thanks. Shout out Adobe for that one. But, trying to get better at that still. I think that's a never ending journey too. But the door knocking, cold calling, it's like, okay, it's one of those things where you watch all the people that do it, and I'm a YouTube addict. I'll look up a few guys that I like on YouTube and watch every single one of their videos, and they're like, dude, door knocking, cold calling, it sucks, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, fine. So when I started out, I was like, okay, I'll put door hangers on doors. I'll door knock. I'll do open houses and door knock for people to come to the open houses, all that. But there's definitely people that aren't friendly, like you were talking about. So we talked about that in the first part, but the bounce back part of it is it's the numbers game. It's that not everyone's going to be like that. And if you do, then obviously wrong mentality too.
Yeah.
But that eventually it may be a maybe instead of being a yes, but that's 10 times better than a no. And you know that if you get a maybe, you're on your way to a yes.
That door's
but
open.
You still got to keep doing it. So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Let's back to your social media. You've got pretty good following on it. I mean, I love watching the videos that you do with your mom. Like, it's really cool. What's been that journey like? Because I'm sure it's paid off for you. You're still doing it.
Yeah, it's good. It's crazy. I think people get caught up in the two, like, especially like I just started YouTube about 2 months ago, have like 5 to 6 videos right now. And they're like in the 100-ish view range. But I know that you shouldn't be worried about that. And the people that get worried about that quit. And there's a guy, Gary V. I don't know if you know him, but yeah, he's like, dude, I started Wine Library, which was like his little YouTube channel where he was like sampling wine and talking about it. He's like, I didn't blow up until like the 900 and something video. And it's like, if you're doing it to get like a ton of views right away, like it's not going to work out. So that's my mindset. I'm just like, let me post them. And I don't care if I get 5 views, 500 views. Like, I think it's entertaining for people to watch depending on what we're doing. And then B, informational too. Like if they're looking and it's like, oh, you know what, I want to flip a house and I want to see what other people are doing and it's entertaining too, like, cool, that's all I'm putting out. If you want to watch it, if you don't, if you want to hate on it, if you don't, like, cool. I had someone comment on my TikTok yesterday. I posted one just being agent, helping out, just trying to be informative. And he's like, real estate agents suck, I hate them, I'll never use one. I'm like, dude, cool story, bro. Like, you want a cookie? Like, I don't. Yeah. So
that's awesome. That guy's very unhappy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not door knocking him. Just I know that ahead of time.
He's got a big no solicitor sign up.
Yeah. So like that type of stuff. But the reason I do it is just the educational part and the entertaining part. So
do you have fun doing it?
Yeah, for sure. And I started doing it because, granted, I thought I was like, oh, I'm gonna get to this level, but there's a couple that does DIY stuff, and they start their video like, oh, here's how I flipped my bathroom for like $500, and they got all the little materials and everything.
wow.
And they already had like paint and stuff, but anyways, they did that, and I'm like, dude, I can do that.
Yeah.
So their videos were a lot better and like professionally done and everything, but at the same time, I got my inspiration from them, because I'm like, I learned how to save tens of thousands of dollars working on my house by watching them. Why don't I just do the same thing? And so views and followers aren't as much as them, but there's a ton of agents that have come up to me that I work with that are like, oh, you're still working on that house? I haven't seen any videos in a while, or I love the video
I was
from
one of them.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Or yeah. So it's like, oh, cool. Like I don't have that many views or as many as I want.
Yeah.
But there's still people watching and it's still doing something. So and
that's a
the
good
whole
feeling.
purpose. Yeah.
That's a good feeling when somebody says that stuff, right?
I'd rather have that. Like people say like,
Yeah.
oh, like I want to flip a house. Like tell me how you did this or that.
Yeah.
Or, I saw how you did this. That was cool. And have 0 views than, you know, the other way around.
We started talking about your social media, or you were talking about YouTube and how right now you're at like the 100 view range. Everybody that's got 1 million subscribers started there at one point. And it there's a theme there in exactly what you did with real estate. It's gonna suck. I'm not gonna get anything. I'm not gonna think about likes. I'm not gonna think about views. I'm just gonna do it. And eventually, man, we're gonna need to have you on in a couple years when you've got 100,000 subscribers.
Cool.
And we're gonna talk about it. It'd be
Speaking
cool.
into existence.
There you go. Absolutely. So now you're wanting to get into more like flips, doing more of the stuff the videos that house. Was that your house?
Yeah.
The
Live there
popcorn
now. So
ceiling?
I was originally going to flip it. And then I was like, it's about that time to just buy a house, just that stage of my life and everything. And so, I bought it, kind of flipped the structure of what I wanted to do. And then, I just took a sledgehammer day one. And
were you hooked by that? Like, is that something now that you're pursuing?
Yeah, because I think I learned so much that I'm like, wow, I see this. And then also too, on top of what we were talking about, it, like I see the number side of it always, like equity built and just putting in X amount of dollars, but you get, 100% return on top of that. It's like, oh man, why don't you just do this? And so I think eventually within the next couple years, I'll turn it into a rental, take money out of that one, put it towards another one, do the exact same thing.
Do it again.
So yeah. And then in 10 years time, you have 10 houses and
that's awesome.
You're good. So
that's
the
awesome.
plan. Yeah.
There's something about learning something new, right? That like, when like I just got into freaking video editing. Oh my gosh, it's been so hard. I've slept like 3 hours the last couple of days. But it's like, it's something that just like it fuels me. Like I don't want to sleep. I want to do that. If there's something I don't know, I want to know about it. Yeah. Seems like that's what you're caught in. You're in that same.
Yeah. It's like you see something and you're like, oh, I want to do that. And then you start it. And then I think the part where people hit the wall is like, I just started it, like with the house, like so fun demoing, taking a hammer, but now you're like, oh, I got to build it back up. And there's people that are like, oh, I don't want to do this part. It's aggravating. But we're the type that's like, okay, I started something. I know what the end result could be. Like, I got to do it. And sometimes it's going to suck. I'm going to lose sleep, etc.
And then you like, finish and you look back and it's like, I own that. I just did that.
Yeah.
What else can I do?
Exactly.
Like, so then when the next opportunity comes around, it's not a question of, can I do that? It's I know I can do it. Do I want to?
Look at the portfolio.
Exactly.
So to speak.
It really does. Like whatever success you have to remember it, and you need to give yourself credit for it, so that when an opportunity does come, you don't sell yourself short because of negative self-talk or what somebody told you one day.
Right.
I love that, man. So getting into that's kind of like a whole new world, right? Like getting into the construction world. Are you you're doing everything yourself?
Everything except like plumbing,
stuff,
electric. Yeah. If there's like foundation work that needs to be done, if there's framing for the most part. Like I just put a covered patio out back and it looks great.
Y'all did it?
I didn't do it. Yeah. Cause I was like, I'm unfamiliar with it. And this is something that I don't want to mess up.
Yeah. You don't want to mess up.
Unless I really know what I'm doing. So got a buddy of mine to do it. He did a really good job and I'm happy that I didn't do it. And he did.
No kidding.
Just the way it turned out. But all the stuff that's like flooring, paint, all the demo stuff. Even drywall too. We did a lot of good chunk of the drywall in the house.
So annoying.
It
oh
is.
My god.
It is. But when you get the perfect cut and it fits in there, like that's the most satisfying.
You want to show your mom. You
Yeah,
want to like take a picture. You want to cut it out and take it home.
Like heard a little certificate, like better than winning the spelling bee. Like, amazing feeling.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that journey, is it linear from like real agent to house flipper?
I think I've learned a lot working with investors too.
Oh, okay.
So I think hopefully, it's almost like working more with them and then obviously still myself, but seeing stuff that they're doing. And then, I'd say pretty linear as far as like not fully jumping ship, but just diving more into it. So you can use the income of what you do from the agent side, put that more towards the investor side, which then produces even more income. So the numbers wise on flips and everything is more, hopefully, if you do the numbers right, like more than, you know, a sale of a house. And so hopefully eventually get to the point of flipping the two where it's like, yes, I'll help people on the agent side, but definitely get more into the investment side,
Sounds like a full-time job,
et cetera.
Like
yeah.
really time consuming.
Yeah. So, well, the schedule will pack itself for sure. But if you do it right, you can be efficient and still, do a good job. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm in construction, and I remember learning, like, I was just hooked by it because it was like a whole new world. There's nuance to everything, and there's things that you never even thought of existed.
Yeah.
Or tools that you never even thought of existed. And it's so much fun to like get caught in that loop. And then but the problem is you get kind of addicted to it. It's like you get caught up in that feeling of like, oh, I'm so excited to wake up tomorrow to work on this thing. And then you're done. And then it's like, oh, what do I do? I'm not good in those moments. I'm not good in the moments of like dead space. Like you ask my wife, she knows. I need to be doing something. Like I need to be learning something. I need to be and a lot of times, you know, it's exhausting. It takes a lot of time. But denying who you are and what you really are passionate about and the things that you really love doing, if that is learning new stuff, do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. It's like being a kid and getting Legos and being like, I put this together.
Yeah.
It's like, now what? Where's my next set, mom and dad? Like, it's
Exactly.
the same thing, obviously on a bigger scale, but
That's within the hour.
yeah, exactly.
I remember with my son Jackson, it was like we'd get him all these cool, crazy toys and like the lights and bells and whistles, and then he like comes home with a rock.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Dad, look at this! Look how cool this!" Yeah. I'm like, dude, you're look. Go to your room and find something to play with.
Yeah,
Like,
please and thank you. Yeah.
that's funny, but there's something to be said about that. Like there's something. It's people give themselves too much credit for the stress that they're under. And then like you're learning something new and it's like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. This is so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. Shut up. Just do it. Keep doing it. Get to the other side so that you can own it and then do something else.
Yeah.
But it's part of when you understand that is reality. This is who I am. I'm a type of person that needs to be learning something new or doing something or needs to fill my time. And you just accept that. And you stop denying it, and then you find things to fill your time. You're going to be so much more happy. It's not a thing. It's not a specific job. It's not. It could be a specific trade. It could be crocheting. I mean, it could be whatever you want it to be. But what matters is that it's fulfilling whatever needs that you have, and you're able to sit back and like look at it and be like, I did that, and I'm damn proud of it.
Yeah.
And you can do that while still working. At a full-time job. You know.
Yeah.
But. Man, I think that was great. I think we've got a lot covered there. Where can we find you? Where can people find Taylor Sutlive?
I say I'm most active on Instagram.
Okay.
Just at Taylor Sutlive, first and last name. TikTok is sanantonio.realtor. Just because if people are looking.
Got it, man.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good. You didn't have to spell it wrong. You didn't have to put a 3 for the E.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't have to put a bunch of numbers after like user XXX. Yeah. Whatever. So those two, I'd say Instagram for sure.
We're going to post them. We'll put links up there.
Communication wise goes. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
and so for all you want to sell a house, give this guy a call.
Please do.
Dude, I really appreciate your time. This has been great. It's been great catching up. And I'm finally ready to forgive you I think you dunked on me a couple times.
Not personal, as business.
It felt personal. I'll be honest. It felt very personal at the time. But man, you're awesome. You've always been awesome. Keep doing it, man. I know somebody's going to listen to this and be like, cause they have the same risks. They have the same things that you're worried about right now. And the fact that you're just doing it and you understand, like, like this is going to suck. Like I'm going to make 900 videos before I'm at a point, whatever that point of success is, whatever that metric or number is. But you're doing it. You're doing it and you're addicted to it. I think so. You keep going right back in it. After YouTube, you're going to master YouTube and it's going to be something else. Yeah. But do it, man. Do it. You're good. You've got success. So just be successful. And I hope somebody that's listening to this can really take that and be inspired by it. And I mean, I'm inspired. I mean, it's really cool to see that. So thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate you.
And yeah, we'll see you around.
Cool. Sounds good, bro. Appreciate you.